Joining us now is Emily Wilson, professor of classical studies at the University of Pennsylvania and the first woman to translate the Odyssey into English. Emily Wilson, thank you so much for being here. I have a very strange anecdote to share with you, but it's relevant to how big this has become. I was in Central Park yesterday walking my dumb little dog, and I overheard two bros in their 20s explaining the plot of the Odyssey to each other. And I turned around and I said, "You know, I have Emily Wilson on our show tomorrow." And he went, "What? No way, I gotta watch it. She's the chick who did the new translation." So did you ever think at any point when choosing this career, you would have Central Park tech bro name recognition?
Who could have dared
on
to
a random Friday?
So weird. It's so funny. I still wake up and think this can't possibly be real. It's wonderful though. I love that Homer is getting all of this new free press thanks to Christopher Nolan, who was an English major, not a classics major, but he's really put his humanities education to good use.
You brought your brood to see this film, I gather. I'm curious what you thought of it and how you, as somebody who's been so deeply immersed in this work, can you enjoy a film like this? Are you able to kind of enjoy it as a viewer, or are you kind of constantly thinking about whether or not it's sticking literally to the text?
I had a lot of fun. As you said, yes, I took my 3 kids, my teenagers. One of them's over 20, but the others are teenagers. They all had a good time. I thought it was a fun time at the movies. I think there are many ways in which the book is better, but I would say that, right? I mean, this is a fun summer movie, and I think it's very entertaining. And I'm actually really looking forward to many years of discussing with my students how does the book relate to the film. I think it's really going to enrich classroom discussions of the Odyssey all around the world.
I mean, it's interesting because there are people who take issue with the movie. There are people who take issue with your translation. The book may be better, but it's this big. I mean, is it good that people, like you said, are at all just showing interest in it? Does that, do you think, lead to more interest in the classics? And is controversy maybe a good thing to get people reading these texts?
I think it's wonderful that there's engagement of whatever kind. I mean, I think it's really clear that this film is bringing both lots and lots of people back to the physical movie theaters, which is, I think, also a good thing. But it's also bringing people back to reading big books. The sales of the Odyssey and library checkouts of the Odyssey, my translation, but also other translations, by some order of magnitude up this summer, which I think is wonderful. And there's just this new engagement with people who maybe didn't think ancient literature could be for me, realizing this is a really fun read and really interesting in so many different ways.
Just to put a number on it, sales are up 1,420% of hard copy books of the Odyssey.
Crazy, yes.
Interest and remuneration, I think, come hand in hand, which is good. Who's knocking on your door at Penn these days? What does a classics major look like? What's his or her background? Who's showing interest in majoring in the classics these days?
You know, it's really very, very diverse. I mean, it's kids from all different backgrounds. I mean, I think back in the day, there used to be an idea that if you haven't gone to the kind of private school where you do Latin, then there's no hope for you as a classicist. And that's very much not true anymore. I mean, there's every possible background, every possible high school, even if you didn't go to a high school where you read the Odyssey in 9th grade, even if there wasn't Latin offered at your school, there's so many opportunities at the college level to get into this. I mean, one common thread that I see, especially in the big myth classes that I teach, is very often it's kids who've read the Percy Jackson books as children.
My son's
very excited about following up with what is different about the Percy Jackson universe versus the universe that we get in Homer. And we have those discussions, and it's fun.
Do you think that diversity makes for a better, more holistic study of the classics? I mean, we were mentioned you were the first woman to translate this text. Talk to us a little bit about what you think your perspective brought to that text as you looked at the language and searched for nuance. And do people from different places, different backgrounds, different ethnicities bring that to these translations as well?
I think that can be the case, yes. I mean, the first woman headline, I slightly resist the idea that women's work must always be defined by gender. And of course, for many other female Homerists before me, the Odyssey and the Iliad have been translated into many other languages by women before me. I don't think you could pick out of a lineup which translations are by women. I actually don't think that stands up to any particular scrutiny. I mean, I would say that, yes, of course, all kinds of background questions can feed into any interpretive activity, whether it's being a historian, being a journalist, being a translator, being a literary critic. The things that you both know as a scholar, as a reader, and also the things you know through embodied experience are going to feed into your interpretive work in some way or other. I mean, for me, my background in English poetics, as well as in Greek and Latin poetics, seems essential to what I'm doing as a translator. Insofar as my primary intervention, as I see it, is to do with using traditional metrical verse in contrast to the vast majority of modern translators who've used unmetrical free verse or prose to translate Homer. And that has nothing to do with gender. It's about poetics.
Can I ask a dumb question about the way you work? So there's the Homeric question, of course, who wrote this? Did he write this? And the Iliad, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. You mentioned these other translations. So there's Fagles and Fitzgerald and Mendelssohn, for that matter. As you're writing this, as you were doing your translation, how much of that was in dialogue with those translations that you'd read previously? In other words, were you working principally from the text in ancient Greek, or were you drawing from at least inspiration from those texts, those translations as well?
Primarily from the Greek, and I don't actually, in terms of my practice, spend much time looking at other translations, because most of the time, if I'm wrestling with a particular problem about this line is so beautiful in these particular ways, how can I convey that using completely different words? It's not going to help me if I then look and see, oh, he did that. No, I can't use that anymore because he's already stole that. So I actually need to spend the time by myself wrestling with it. I read a lot of commentaries. I reread the dictionary over and over to try and figure out how else is this word used wherever else it's used in ancient Greek. But it's not really about looking at other translations. So, of course, while I was starting this project, I was meditating on my experiences, especially in the classroom, using many different other translations and thinking about what doesn't get across when I use Fagles or when I use Lattimore. And primarily, I thought about both meter and about the vividness, rapidity, and the multivocality of Homer. About how, I think in some ways this is about how Homer can work for the screen as well as for the stage in adaptation. The Odyssey was composed before drama existed, but it has these amazing speeches of characters who are so fully realized that we fully understand who Penelope is, who Odysseus is.